Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're enjoying your day so far, and it's no secret that in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War the cheating problem is very rampant indeed, especially on the Challenger side. We've seen these last several weeks the Challengers Cup's been a bit of a disaster. If you guys have been playing on CMG, wages, tourneys, this type of stuff, it's very difficult to tell exactly which opposition are actually using cheats or which opposition are being legitimate. It's caused a load of issues across the scene these last several weeks. The question really has then been raised then yesterday on this Attach Hex Eavesdrop podcast. We're going to look at in a second. Should we potentially move back to PlayStation in the future? Certainly PC has its benefits. I think on the professional side it certainly makes sense to stay in that vicinity, but well, was it too early to move to PC on the Challenger side? Should we go back to PlayStation for the Challengers? Maybe even the Pro scene as well? What pros and cons are there of that potential decision? Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, this I thought was pretty interesting here from our world. Asserto Intel, they pointed out would love to see this done when it matters in competitive. The cruise missile or whatever it's called right here, he actually shoots it down with a pistol. This of course has been done back in the day. You were able to shoot down like Hellstorm missiles and stuff like this. Usually it'd be done with an M8 or something though, so pretty cool to see if it is involved in competitive play, which it seems like it might be. The GAs might be getting relaxed to some degree, stopping GAing the streaks, bringing in the artillery. I think in the cruise missile potentially at certain score streak levels, I think maybe 1600 and 2000 they're looking at right now in the competitive side, because you can now adjust that. With the recent adjustment the track made, we may be seeing these in competitive play. We may get to see some of these cool moments come back where players are shooting down these Hellstorm cruise missiles with their weapons. So I thought that was pretty cool. You guys may also have noticed a couple of days ago Tony Flame basically got hacked on Twitter. Sorry for the drivel you've had to read on my account these last few days. In case you missed it, my account was hacked on Christmas. Still had an incredible holiday. Yeah, if it made your day a little bit better with a good laugh, I'm not even mad. So on the 14th of September, the CDL confirmed the 2021 season has officially begun. New ways to compete incoming, as they say, crossplay, so you can play with any, league sanctioned controller on Xbox, PS5, or of course PC, right? And Challengers crossplay, as you can see right here, PC plus controller is going to be the format going forward. A number of questions really came out as a result of this. When, if ever, are we going to have keyboard and mouse allowed? Hopefully that is certainly not the case. But as you can see, Challengers crossplay can play on pretty much any platform, right? But if you're not playing on PC, you're definitely putting yourself at a disadvantage in terms of frame rate, in terms of what is possible, and there's certainly a number of advantages for the CDL actually moving to PC more generally. The game of course looks a lot crisper. If you guys have been watching people's streams, there's a lot more that the league will be capable of now in the PC environment, in terms of the spectator stuff and observing the games, and also from a business standpoint it certainly makes sense, because if it's PC you can now talk about PC peripherals. You can get sponsors like Intel, AMD, this type of stuff come into the scene, which obviously pay a lot of money, I imagine, to sponsor in some of the actual PC games. Whereas if your game is just like sponsored by PlayStation 5, then the opportunity isn't necessarily there to have those sponsor integrations. The other interesting thing that Hex has been talking about a couple of times now is the cosmetic items and the skins. If they're available in the PS Store, the PlayStation Store takes a pretty significant cut of that revenue. But if it's PC, there's no specific console that we're working with. All of a sudden that revenue can now be split between Activision and the teams and the players. So it's beneficial for a couple of different aspects, but the negative of course from the Challenger side, especially with no anti-cheaters, that cheating has been absolutely rampant. And the problem really with the cheating stuff is that nowadays it's very difficult to tell which players are cheating, which players aren't. As we've talked about a couple of times, you can flip on a wall hack in a game 5 round 11. Who is really going to know about that? And as Chris Abbott says at the time during some of these Challengers Cup, refused to play back-to-back cheaters that he came up against in these rounds. I tried, bro. I guess it doesn't matter what I say. Just beat the cheaters. And this was affecting people's pro point standings quite significantly, right? If you're a good team, you're playing up against cheaters in one of the first couple of rounds of these Challenger Cups, then all of a sudden you're getting dropped down the rankings. Your seeding for the next event is going to be awful. And how can you even prove that these guys are cheating? And we talked about the possibility of people who actually aren't cheating then getting accused of cheating, and it's a bit of a disaster all across the park. And this really is affecting the Challenger side pretty significantly. Azuma says if you hack, you are whack on the 5th of December. And Kenny points out a couple of other people who are pretty blatantly, in his opinion, cheating on Twitch in some of these 1v1 wagers and stuff like this. It's pretty much ruining the scene right now. And in the Challenger side, what are you meant to do about it? So the question has been raised, should we potentially go back to a PlayStation environment? Would that be better for the Challenger side to have held it off for one more season? It's a really difficult question to answer, because right now with no anti-cheat in the game and no, well, anti-cheat in sight, we have nothing from Activision to say, okay, it's going to come in 3 months, 6 months, whatever it might be, with no, no indication at all as to when it might be arriving. It's very hard to tell when any of these problems may be resolved, and therefore in future, should we even take the step back to go back to PlayStation on the Challenger side so we don't get some of these cheating issues, and some of these actual Challenger tournaments can actually be fair and just, and the results can be legitimate, even at the cost, right, of separating once again the competitive and the Challenger scene, which we really don't want to do.
PC Online has brought on this super challenging scenario where we don't know who's cheating. I don't even know, like, I see left and right, like people streaming and also like sort of, you know, seeing through walls and knowing where the opponents are.
Yeah, that's one of the big issues with like search and destroy tournaments right now, is that you just don't know who's legit. Everyone is like the best player in the world all of a sudden, whereas in other games, like, you could play them, you could win them pretty comfortably every time, but now people are coming out the woodworks and just the best in the game. And I'm sure there is some legit people, a lot of legit people doing that, but there's definitely other people that are very sketchy. I've seen hundreds of clips and played a bunch of tourneys and just been like, all right, that was a little weird, and then later on, a week or two later, all those players get exposed because they were wall hacking or something. So it's just like, I don't even really want to play this right now, and that is what's really hurting the COD scene at the moment, because hopefully there could be some kind of anti-cheat, not only for us, but for the Warzone players as well, because they need it desperately, because Warzone is amazing, and the fact that you go into half of your games as a cheater or some glitch, it's just like, so consistently, too. They guess right so consistently, but they haven't guessed right so consistently in the past 4 CODs they've been playing. But now they know everything. They learned over the past off season. So good for them if they are legit, and it's sure a lot of people that are, but it just sucks that you just never know. You never know. And then it's just like you don't even want to play because you kind of lose that like love for it, because you're like, okay, well, I'm losing to this guy and he's just cheating, and he got exposed a week later. So it's like,
we as a league are making a massive commitment in sort of going into, for business reasons, going into the PC into the PC platform. Obviously, it looks way better, right? That's a given. But we're also doing that for business reasons. We don't have to share, you know, our money that we sell from skins or whatever with the PlayStation store or the Xbox store. Aside from that, but what does that do, right, to the competition? Are we just gonna sit around and not do shit about it? If it gets too much worse, see, this is my thing, okay? And this is as a team owner, and as team owners, we've had the discussion. How far are we gonna allow it to go before we demand an anti-cheat to be here, right? Like, we're paying millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars to make this thing go, and you're telling me you're not going to give us an anti-cheat? Not even a disclaimer. So we're working on it. None of this. Let's go back to PlayStation. You can't cheat. You might as well go back to PlayStation. It's PS5. We have a month for you guys to put in an anti-cheat into this thing, because once this thing gets up and running, right, it's going to go bad both ways.
So it's really a combination of factors that have led to this, because, well, as Chrome points out, this is way back in July now, but Crimsix does the old Awakening POV thing, where he puts this thing on the camera, but he also says at the end of this clip, like, look, if you think Awakening is cheating, you just suck at the game, right? But this is a problem, right? Awakening comes into Florida Mutineers, and he has that question mark over his head. Slack was saying at the time, maybe this guy uses a strike pack, uses the mods on his controller, because what are you going to do, right? This guy hasn't really played at a high level on LAN before, he's just been playing from the comfort of his own home, and well, all the pros are doing it, all the players are doing it in the challenger side, so, you know, how are you really going to be able to tell if players are using anything dodgy or if they are not? And there were certainly some question marks around this guy coming into the Florida Mutineers, dropping ridiculous numbers and making them pretty much the best team in the game when they won 2 events back to back. But the pros pretty much think this guy is legit and there shouldn't be anything dodgy about it. But playing online and now in this PC environment, it does create the questions about pretty much everyone, right? Like Paul X very recently, Krim was kind of thinking, okay, is this guy something dodgy going on here with the Wester team? Because, well, he was obviously looking very good, as the entirety of that team was in these first couple of Challengers Cups, winning both of them back to back. The question is therefore raised, are these guys dodgy? What's going on with no anti-cheat? How can you even tell if these guys are dodgy or if they are not? And, well, if there was an anti-cheat, then you could say, okay, well, these guys obviously aren't getting picked up on the anti-cheat, therefore they're perfectly legitimate, and players that are getting picked up by the anti-cheat therefore are, well, illegitimate, obviously. So a combination of factors leads us to the point where the Challenger scene is pretty much in shambles, and yes, we are a while away from the next Challenger Cup, but it doesn't seem to me that there's going to be an anti-cheat coming in the next, well, week and a half or so before this next Challenger Cup does drop. And therefore, I imagine they're going to stick out their season on PC, and the Challengers are going to keep playing on PC and this type of stuff. But, look, next season, there could be the question marks to say, look, if this doesn't work out, if we still don't have an anti-cheat in place, do we have to take one step back on the Challenger side? Of course, it does create some massive issues, because, of course, all these players have bought PCs and stuff like this, and so, you know, maybe the latter half of the season it's okay, because the players that consistently come to the top are probably the players that are legit, because these guys maybe get caught out somewhat if you're cheating consistently. But, you know, how are you going to get around these types of issues? And really, it's a problem which the pros maybe don't have to deal with too much, but certainly at the challenger side. And, well, some of these guys that could be the next awakenings are coming up, and the likes of Porlex, as we just talked about. And, yeah, as he says right here, anti-recall, Starklit, Strike Pack, Cronus mods, wall hacks, all this type of stuff. Actually, just a good player. And with the combination of factors, the PC now and the online arena, it's pretty much impossible to tell in some cases either way. And, well, it's going to create a very difficult environment for these guys to make their come up in Call of Duty without having this, well, without having someone staring over their shoulder the entire time. So there's certainly two sides of the coin here. Maybe you could argue that if we do get back to LAN relatively soon, this now doesn't matter as much anymore. The problem is, of course, on the professional side, that's perfectly fine, right? It doesn't matter too much. We're going to get back to LAN. Awakening is going to be on LAN. He's going to have a referee behind him, and everything is going to be perfectly legitimate. But if you're a challenger player who hasn't quite made it up right yet, we're not going to be having LANs in the challenger scene, well, anytime soon, and if not really ever, especially on the Challengers Cups and stuff, these kind of early online seeding tournaments, they're never going to be done in a LAN environment. The second tier, the challenger side, is always going to be done mostly online, even if we're in a pandemic-free environment, right? So therefore, there's big questions here. Well, it does kind of surprise me that they went so headstrong into this PC stuff without really considering the anti-cheat implications. And well, it really creates a very difficult situation to even try and get out of, and the frustrations do continue. Just to finish off with a couple of interesting things, Modok says we drove 400 miles from LA just to end up going golfing in Arizona. TJ says you drove 400 miles to shoot a 140. You better be elite at COD this year. Going to be talking about some spicy rivalries later today, but thought this is pretty entertaining from TJ and Modok. And well, this nice little clip from Scump, the young man of OpTic, playing with Hex and Co in some game battles. Nice little three-piece right here. But intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.